Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Amiibo here, and today we are talking about the games I played in the month of May. As you can see, May was a very productive month for me. I got a lot of game time in and played some very, very good games. In fact, one of these I think will be my game of the year. I really would be shocked if it changes from Clair Obscur, as we have here. We'll get to that in just a little bit. I also played Doom the Dark Ages, which was my most anticipated game of the year at the end of 2024. And then even something like Fantasy Life. This was a big surprise for me, a game that I was excited for, but I wasn't expecting it to be like such a hit. But I've been nonstop playing Fantasy Life the past couple of days. So we have a lot to get into today. Of course, as always with these monthly roundup videos, let me know what you've been playing in the comments down below. This is the final one before Switch 2, so by the end of June, when we get to the next one, it's going to be a whole different slate of games, although maybe Fantasy Life will stick around because I'm really enjoying it. But let's get into our first game, and that is the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative. So I played the first game last month, talked about it, really enjoyed it, had some issues with it, humor, Japanese writing in general, there's some parts of it I didn't like, but this month I played it through the sequel in preparation for the third entry, Nirvana Initiative, and it's good. I think it is worse in some aspects than the first game, but also way better in other aspects. So the entire gimmick with these Somnium File games is you go into people's like dream states and you have to like solve puzzles in their dream Somnium, as they call them. The Somniums in this game are much better designed and much more fun. Before, in the first game, it was a lot of trial and error, where frankly, I was just kind of like looking up the solution a lot of the time. With this game, they're a lot more lenient with it. There's some options there, so you're not like using time every time you do an action. That was a big issue I had with the first game. So those are a lot more fun. I really like the direction that the plot went in this game, where it's a lot more focused on like a conspiracy theory. I don't want to get too into it, but there's like a conspiracy theory that was referenced in the first game, and I actually really like that route in the first game. The second entry kind of really expanded upon that. However, I do think the overall characters and writing of this one are worse, and in general, the game kind of felt all over the place at times. You have two main characters in this one. You play as Mizuki from the first game, but also this new character, Ryuki, and I mean, they're good. They're good characters, but I don't know. I did kind of miss my boy Date in this one throughout most of the journey. He is kind of there in the background a little bit, but it's good. It's not as good as the first one, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it enough to continue playing the franchise. I'm excited for the third one that's coming out in July, which is not written by Uchikoshi, I don't think. I think it's a whole different writer for that one. But yeah, Somnium Files, I finally knocked these off the backlog. Pretty happy about that. And speaking of visual novels, I did start this. I'm only a couple of hours in. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue playing it right now, simply because there's so much other stuff I want to play and so much other stuff coming out. However, I do like what I've played of it, and that is the 100-line Last Defense Academy. This is from, once again, the writer of the I games, but also the writer and creator of Danganronpa. So it's kind of them working together on this new visual novel, very Danganronpa style. You can tell by the character designs and everything. The way you're talking to characters is very similar. But also, this is a tactics game, and from the little bit I've played, like I said, like maybe 5 hours or so, I'm really enjoying it. It's a long game. I've heard there's hundreds of endings. If you like Danganronpa, if you like visual novels, if you like tactics games, like this is probably going to be up your alley. It's one of the last major Switch 1 exclusives, so I recommend it, but also I need to put more time into it to give a full review. Next up, I actually replayed a game. It's not too often I'm spending time replaying games, but this is a short one that I played back in 2019, really loved it, and wanted to start replaying them in preparation for the sequels, or the sequel that got remastered and then the new one coming out. So I did a replay through of Onimusha Warlords, played this one for the first time a couple of years ago, or I guess, 6 or 7 years ago almost now, and really enjoyed it. It was my first time playing it when this remaster came out on Switch. That's where I played it before. Got the PS4 copy, played it on PS4, did a little trophy hunting, although this game pretty intensive on the trophies because I think you need to beat it in like under 3 hours and do the harder difficulties. Onimusha, I've discovered is like a comfort food for me. I really like this game because it is so short, which is a similar reason to why I love Luigi's Mansion so much. I love games that are maybe not necessarily the hardest. I'm sure people will do their no-hit runs and all that in this. They added a new one hit and you're dead difficulty to this version recently, actually. But there's something about just a cozy, little samurai demon game that's 3 hours long. You can knock it out in a night. I don't know. I really like this game. It's not like a masterpiece or anything, but it's just the vibes. The vibes of this game, PS2 era, you're solving some puzzles like a Resident Evil game. I don't know, man. I really like it, and I'm excited to get to the sequels. The plan was to finish this and then immediately go into Onimusha 2 because the remaster came out. However, That's digital only right now, and usually I don't mind too much if a game's digital only, but it's $30 and I have it on PS2, so I'm holding out for maybe like a Japanese physical of that or something, maybe later this year, and import that and play it that way. Otherwise, I'll wait for a sale and pick up Onimusha 2 on PS4, because it released on PS4 and Switch. I'll get the PS4 version, probably. And I want to play through all of these before Onimusha Way of the Sword comes out. Ideally, they're going to do Onimusha 3 and Dawn of Dreams, and maybe even, I think it's Blade Warriors is the fighting game. I would like if all these got remastered. Blade Warriors, they could throw into one of their random collections that they do. But hopefully 3 and Dawn of Dreams especially get remastered before the new one comes out, and I'll play through the rest of these, because I love this game, and I've heard Onimusha 2 is maybe the best one. I've heard some conflicting things, but yeah, Onimusha, very cool. Excited to play more of these games. Going through these a little bit faster than usual because there is so many, and I have a lot to say about these next few. So first up, Doom the Dark Ages. We have the physical here. It does require download. I know a lot of people were like, why'd you buy the disc if it requires a download? Because I wanted the physical copy. This is a physical copy of this game. Anyway, Doom the Dark Ages. This was my most anticipated game of 2025. I love Doom 2016, and I especially love Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal was my game of the year for 2020. Love Ghost of Tsushima that year as well, and Last of Us Part 2, but Doom Eternal stands tall as my favorite game of 2020, and one of my favorite FPS games of all time. And I have been waiting for the sequel. It's been, 5 years. This is the longest they've taken since the modern era of Doom has started. And I really like this game. However, I do think that maybe because Eternal was such a high for me, my expectations were a little unrealistic for what it was going to be. I really respect id for what they did here. If you haven't seen this game before, basically, Doom 2016 was kind of like vanilla Doom. It was just a really good, just solid what you think of when you think of Doom. Doom Eternal added a lot more movement options and really kicked up the pacing of the game. You added the grapple hook, you added a lot more glory kills, and it was just a way faster game. It was crazy. That game is so fast-paced, and I love that stuff. I love a fast-paced FPS. Doom the Dark Ages, while this isn't, I don't think, the right direction for what I want out of Doom, I do respect them making it distinct from Doom Eternal. So what they changed with this one is they really slowed it down. They made it much slower. It's still fast for an FPS, but they slowed it down a lot, and the entire, philosophy is stand and fight. You want to, plant your feet on the ground and stand and fight. You have your shield. You have parries now. It's a much more defensive play style. By the end of the game, I was, playing it completely offensively. I was playing it much faster than I think most people probably would. But coming off of Doom Eternal, I do think it's a pretty big step down. I don't think it's as good as 2016 either. I think it is a great game, though, which is why it's I'm saying it's a huge step down. It's no, it's still really good. It's just not as good as the other two, in my opinion, in terms of what I want from a Doom game. But once again, huge respect to id for making all 3 games feel distinct while still feeling like Doom. This game does feel like Doom. It's just a different vibe of Doom, a different flavor of Doom gameplay. And for what they were going for, I think they did a great job. I love the weight that Doom guy has in this game. He feels heavy. You're walking around, the controller's shaking, and you can feel the dust particles around you going crazy. He is a force to be reckoned with in this game as you're moving, and it just feels so good. I love when you're on a cliff or something, you jump down onto a group of enemies, and just him jumping down will damage them, or at least it pushes them away. You feel powerful, you feel heavy in this game, and it does feel very good. It's just a different play style than Doom Eternal was in terms of pacing. I just didn't quite enjoy it as much. I do also think that it is a victim of them trying to do a little bit too much variety with this game. Doom 2016 and even Eternal feel very focused in what they were going for. Doom the Dark Ages, for one, I think they tried too much to make it a story game. They really are trying to lay the story onto you, and as someone who loves those first 2 games, I do not care. I can't care about the story in Doom. I just don't. I don't care about the lore. This is a prequel to those other games. I'm sure there are Doom fans that are huge on the story, but watching the cutscenes in this game, I was just yup, okay, let's continue. Let's keep up the pacing here on this game. There are also 2 different types of levels that pop up a couple of times throughout the campaign. One where you are on this Doom Dragon, which is cool and it's fun, but it's not really what I'm coming to Doom for. Same thing with these ones when you're in a giant kaiju and you punch the other enemies and you're gargantuan. They're cool, but they're not really what I'm coming to Doom for. So this game didn't feel as focused as the other 2, and I also think It kind of dragged on a little bit. I think it maybe took me 15 hours to finish up the story mode. I wasn't going for all of the collectibles. I think the level design is a step down from Eternal. They have a lot more of these open areas with different pathways and different collectibles that you can find, which once again are fun. It's just not, it's not what I'm coming to Doom for. So I think this is a good game, maybe even a great game. It's just not, it's not what I wanted from Doom. So good game. It'll still probably end up being in my top 10 games of the year list unless the second half of this year is stacked, because I did enjoy my time with it, but the entire time I was playing it, I was making that mistake of comparing it to Eternal, which I know this is a different game from Eternal. They're trying something different, and I totally respect that. But I don't know. I definitely have some issues with the direction they took it, even if that direction, they still did pretty well, aside from a couple of, like, pacing things in there, and the story, which, once again, I don't care. The weapons are a lot of fun. I love the shield. I mean, if you're going to go for this more, like, heavy-feeling Doom, where you know, stand your ground and fight, having the shield that you can throw and then do parries with, like, it's a lot of fun parrying enemies in this game. It did feel a little easy. I know there's a ton of difficulty modifiers. I was playing on, like, whatever the medium one is, which is what I played Eternal on and Doom 2016. This felt a little easy, though. It also felt pretty straightforward to just completely, like, break the game in terms of comboing, throwing your shield onto an enemy, getting up in there, meleeing it. There's this one weapon, I can't remember what it's called. It's already, like, 3 games behind me at this point. But there's this one where the stock version of it is basically just an assault rifle, but it, like, shreds skulls, which is really cool, just an automatic weapon. But there's a version of it, a different, like, version of that turns it into a gun that just fires one at a time, and it does just way more damage. That, combined with the shield, combined with your melee, I mean, you can tear up a boss in literally, like, 3 seconds. Like, it's crazy how fast you can just completely power through an enemy, because I can't remember which one it is exactly. It's either your shield throw or your melee. One of them makes shields pop out of the enemy, depending on if, like, you get their health down enough, or if you kill one of the regular enemies, of course. So you can basically just keep looping it over and over and over again, which is fun, and it is fun feeling like a god in this game. But it did almost feel like I was exploiting it in a way that they weren't necessarily intending. I'm not sure. I will say, on a more positive note, and I'm trying not to sound too negative, because once again, I do think the game is very good. The music, I was worried about the music. They lost the original guy. There was a dispute with him and its software. They got a new composer for this one. And I don't know if the soundtrack is quite as high as the other two. It's still really good. Like, the soundtrack in this game, like, it gets you pumped up. Like, it is not a huge step down from the others, which I was expecting, which maybe isn't the most glowing review of, like, oh, it's not as good as the others, but it's not as bad as I was expecting. For them to get a new composer after those two other Doom games were so great, and for it to be, in my opinion, at least comparable to those soundtracks, I was surprised by that. And also the sound design in general, like I said, with the movement and the weight to this game. You feel that in the audio design too. When you're walking around, you hear Doomguy stepping. Like, it sounds so good. Or, like, when you're walking, they'll have these armor pickups around, and at least on PS5, playing with the DualSense, you go through and it makes, like, a little audio cue on your controller, and it just feels so good. You're getting these in, like, a rhythm to the soundtrack that's playing, but also just feeling it in your controller. It is such a satisfying feeling, and while I don't like this game as much as Doom Eternal or Doom 2016, it's still really good, and I'll definitely go back to it eventually, and I'll play the DLC. I did buy the premium edition, so I am locked in with that DLC here. Excited to check out that, and maybe try out the game on a harder difficulty to see if that changes my tune a little bit. But overall, I would say disappointing from the perspective of a huge Doom Eternal fan, but I do appreciate that they wanted to try something different, and now we have 3 modern Doom games that are all very good and all feel very distinct. After that, I needed to lock in. I thought this was going to be the last thing I played in the month of May. However, I got hooked on it like a drug, and I just could not stop playing it. I sacrificed some time to make this game happen and get through it much faster than I anticipated, because it is just so good. It's been a while since I played a game where I'm just up into the wee hours of the night without realizing that the sun's about to come up, and we, of course, are talking about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So I talked about this game a little bit at the end of April, because I had started it. I think I'd played a couple hours, but I wasn't very far in. I wasn't even finished Act 1. This game has 3 acts. So this game has been completely, like, hyped. Like, people are losing their minds over this game, saying it is a guaranteed GOTY winner. And until I finished maybe the first act, but maybe a little bit into Act 2, I was like, wow, this game is really, really good. I'm really liking it. But Game of the Year, best JRPG of all time, I just don't know if I agree with that. However, having now finished the game, having done most of the side content, there's still a couple things I need to do. I need to find all the journals and everything. I do want to get the platinum in this through a New Game Plus playthrough. This is my Game of the Year. It's not even close. I really cannot imagine what would come out that would be better than this. If this game had come out last year, it'd be my game of the year last year. If it came out in 2023, it probably would have been my favorite game of that year. It is that good. It is one of the best games I have played this decade, at the very least. Like, it is very good. It is so very good in just about every aspect. I was skeptical of this game. I was very skeptical of it because when they showed it off, I think, last year at Summer Games Fest or at Xbox's showcase, I was like, it looks too good. They're saying it's going to be $50. They're saying it's a smaller team making this, kind of short, concise story JRPG, has this flashy UI. I remember people were comparing it to Persona at the time. I just thought it sounded too good to be true. And I think that $50 price point for me, it's so silly, but it being 50 made me think, oh, there's got to be something wrong with it. Like this can't be right. However, basically every aspect of this game is masterclass. It's better than most games I've played. This is a game that is going to stick with me. The story is one of the best I've encountered in a RPG and a JRPG, really any game, maybe any medium. I think the story is so great. It has a big, focus on grief and loss, but it's all told through this entire idea of these characters who have this countdown doomsday clock, and basically every year their lifespans are shortened, and this Expedition 33, the group of people that are going to die when they turn 33, they go out to try and figure out what's going on and see if they can stop it, and it's so good. The story's so good. The characters, I don't know if it's like my favorite cast of characters in an RPG, however, I do want to shout out Mayel. Mayel might be the best written female protagonist in a game I've played. She is absolutely incredible. Also, from a gameplay standpoint, I love her moveset, but we'll talk about gameplay in just a second. I love Gustav, my boy Gustav, also Verso, who you meet a little bit later. I love Lune, Monoko. I mean, the cast in this game is really strong. Not sure if it's my favorite party overall, but it's a really great cast of characters. The voice acting, the performances, this is all really great stuff here as well. The music is maybe my favorite soundtrack in a game. Currently, I would give that crown to Xenoblade 2 or maybe Xenoblade 3. It'd be one of the two Xenoblade sequels. This definitely gives it a run for its money. The music in this game, the battle themes, the variety and number of different battle themes, all of the different little tunes you hear when you're exploring the overworld, the boss battle themes. The soundtrack is top-notch, just incredible, just an incredible soundtrack. The gameplay is top-notch. I really have no issues with the gameplay. At first, I was a little overwhelmed, so you have these things called Pictos, and each character can have 3 Pictos equipped, but then once you master a given Picto, you can put them onto other characters with these other Lumina points. It's a whole system, and at first, because there's so much text on screen, I was a little overwhelmed, but once you learn it and you learn how to combo these different Pictos, the combat becomes sublime, and depending on what your build is, I mean, you can basically play this not even as a turn-based RPG, you can just play it as an action game, because I had this build with Mayel where she was doing, I can't remember the exact specifics, but if she was at less than 50% health, her critical rate was up. I had maxed out her critical or her luck rates in the level up screens, and then she had a move that made it so she would take all of her HP down to 1, and then she would gain 9 AP, which are ability points, so she could do all of her different moves. I also had a Picto on her that gave her shields, so that when she spawned into battle, she could be 1 HP, which would give her more damage, more critical rate, all that, but then also have shields, so if I missed a parry or a dodge, and she'd be fine, it's not going to die instantly. So the way you can manipulate the Pictos in this game to your advantage is so much fun. And then generally speaking, the base combats, I know some people are having issue with it being so parry focused. It is a turn-based game, however, you need to have fast reflexes. Sometimes learning the enemy patterns can be frustrating. However, this is very much one of those games that's fighting a boss, losing to a boss, and then coming back the next morning refreshed after a night's sleep. It's like you learn the patterns of something. I don't know. It's crazy. You can really learn these bosses and their patterns and their attack patterns. And then once you learn it, it becomes so satisfying when you actually go back to it and take them down. I was listening to a podcast with Ben Starr on it. He's the voice of Verso. And he was saying that apparently the director of this game is a Sekiro speedrunner, which definitely checks out. And I love Sekiro. Sekiro is one of my favorite games of all time. It's my favorite From Software game. And you can definitely feel that in the combat. Even though it's turn-based, the emphasis on parries is very evident there. So the combat, some of my favorite combat in a video game, and the way, once again, you can build your characters. And I will say, usually in JRPGs, some of those later game characters you get, I kind of fall off, and I'm just like, okay, I already have my main cast. However, in this one, that wasn't happening. I was using every single character off and on for different purposes. Each character has their own special, like, gimmick. So Mayel can change her stance to, like, defensive or offensive. Different abilities will make different stances pop up, so that's really fun. Lune is a magic user, so when you use different types of magic attacks, she'll get different stains on like the right side of the screen, and then depending on what attacks you do after that, it'll consume those stains and do different effects depending on which ones you have on there. Minoko is really fun. He's like a blue mage setup where when you defeat enemies and battle with him, he'll get their abilities by eating their legs. Really cool. He can be an absolute powerhouse, and each character has some sort of like very special ability, and it is so much fun experimenting with all of them and seeing what kind of works and what combos together to the point where you're doing, hundreds of thousands of damage per hit. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is an all-timer from a team of people that have not made a game before. Of course, some of them have background in game development, but this is their first game. I cannot wait to see what their next game is, because I don't know how else to say it, man. This game is freaking incredible. I was skeptical. I was so skeptical going into it, and then I saw all the people hyping it up, and I was like, okay, I'll buy it. I'll try it out. And at first, for the first couple hours, I was like, I don't know if it's that good. I mean, it's really good. I don't know if it's that good. And then by the time you roll credits, I mean, dude, you're like crying. Like, it's a masterpiece of a video game. It is absolutely unreal what they managed to accomplish with this game for $50. Once again, it's a cheaper game too. Samfall Interactive, Kepler, you are onto something magical here. 2025, apparently the year of the new IP, because also Split Fiction, one of my favorite games of the year. If you have not played Clair Obscur, once again, if you're, not great at parrying attacks, it might be a little bit harder to get into. I know there are some settings that make the parries a little bit easier. Your timing is a little bit more generous, but if you don't mind parrying, you got to play this game. It is incredible. Now, after finishing Clair Obscur, I did what any sane person would do as a palate cleanser, and I downloaded Cookie Clicker. So Cookie Clicker released on PlayStation and Switch in May, and I've been just playing it passively. Cookie Clicker is a game I've never played before. However, I have played these types of clicking games in the past. This one, not that good. I'm going to be honest, because, well, for one, playing it on console, you need to leave it open, which is a huge issue, because normally you're expected to play it on PC, where you're doing other stuff on the PC while the cookies are clicking, and this you need to leave it on. And also just like the pace at which I'm progressing feels so slow compared to some other clicking games. So I have this grand idea of over the span of like 2 years getting the platinum in this game, but also I'm playing it on PS5, on my PS5 Pro. Is it really worth the energy I'm using to have my PS5 Pro running? Is that a good use of energy? I feel bad to leave my PS5 on to play Cookie Clicker. I left it on when we went to the movies the other day, and I came back, and I mean, those cookies were clicking, trust me. But yeah, I've played better clicker games than this, but this is the OG, so respect where respect is due. And then from there, I thought I was done. I was like, okay, I'm tapped until Switch 2. Doom the Dark Age is really good, although I have some issues with it. And then Clair Obscur, just, all-time great game. However, towards the end of the month, I got 2 games in. I was going to save this one for last, but we'll talk about it first because I haven't put as much time into it. Elden Ring Nightreign came out, and I've been messing around with this with some friends. I got the Amazon Deluxe Edition. Whoa, that's so crazy. This is the 3-player co-op Elden Ring game where you spawn into a map, you run around and fight bosses, mini-bosses in the field, and then by the end of day 3, so it's set up into 3 days, on day 3 you fight like the ultimate boss. Runs take about 40 minutes to an hour, depending. I'm not good at Elden Ring. I'm not good at Dark Souls. The reason I like Sekiro so much is because you don't have to build your character. It's, you just get good and then you get good. With these games, I'm not great at like building characters. However, Elden Ring, Nightreign has classes basically, and you level up throughout the day, and you go to your bonfire or whatever it's called, your site of grace, and you level up, and all of your stats go up at once. You don't have to sit there managing all your different stats, which I really appreciate. This game didn't get the greatest reviews. It's at like a 78, I think, on Metacritic, which is very low for From Software. However, I actually really like it. It's from like the 4 or 5 hours I've played. It's a little janky, as you would expect with a 3-player Elden Ring game. They're kind of just reusing all these assets, making a map, and trying to make it work. It definitely is missing features like a duos mode. You have to play either solo or with 3 people. It's missing a crossplay option. I cannot believe it's missing crossplay. That just does not make sense to me. It's so weird. However, and this might sound weird to say, I think this game is not designed for the people that are scoring it. This game feels like something that is designed for the hardcore Souls fans to play for 10 years plus. And from that angle, I mean, I think this game is going to offer a lot of hours of fun for those hardcore Souls fans. It's not for Joe Schmo reviewing it for IGN. No offense, Joe Schmo. It's for the person doing the Elden Ring or whatever DDR pad challenge where it's linked up to a Dance Dance Revolution pad. It's for that person, the person that does the no-hit damage runs in Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 all consecutively. It's for the hardcore sicko Souls fans, and from that angle, I think it's really good. It's a lot of fun going through, fighting bosses with friends. Souls games have never been a multiplayer experience for me because, frankly, they don't make it very easy to play multiplayer, and you have to, like, get some weird umbilical cord or some severed finger to summon a person. In this, you just queue up with 2 other people and go slay some bosses. And boss fights in Souls games are fun. So from that angle, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I am not good at it though, like I said. So I have not even finished like the first true boss. I think there's 8 bosses total. I've gotten to day 3 several times. I've gotten that boss fight, that 3-headed dog or whatever, down to its last little sliver of health several times, and then we just choke at the last possible second. So I'm gonna put more time into it. Maybe I'll have more thoughts next month, although it's June 2nd now. The Switch 2's coming out. So this game might get sidelined for a while. However, from the bit I've played, I do enjoy it. And I can understand the review scores because there are some issues with it. And then certainly in terms of how you play with other people. No duos, no crossplay. But I think if you're a hardcore Souls fan, this game is kind of made for you specifically. And then finally, I spent all day yesterday playing this game. I'm like, I think 15 hours played. I'm almost done the story. I've been beelining the story, but we have Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time. I imported the PS5 as well as the Switch copy. It's over there. I imported both of those. I did an unboxing, a little bit of gameplay a couple of days ago, and this is one that I was interested in. I was excited for it. I was happy to see Level 5 making a real game again. Megaton Musashi Wired last year, I enjoyed from them as well, but Fantasy Life, that was like the start of it. That was the one they announced in that Nintendo Direct 2 years ago as like the Level 5 revival project, or at least that's how I viewed it. But it came out at a bad time for me, and I didn't think I was going to play it, but then it released, and everybody in my Discord server was hyping it up, and they were like, oh, dude, this game's so good. And then I saw everybody on social media saying, dude, Fantasy Life is really good. So I decided to, pull the trigger, buy these, and start playing it, and I'm glad I did, because although I've not played Fantasy Life much on the original 3DS, I kind of missed it, as I've said before in other videos, this game is really fun, and speaks to me as someone who, just a couple of years ago, got really into Final Fantasy XIV. This is Final Fantasy XIV, but babyfied. And I mean that with the most respect. I mean that as a massive positive thing. This is the perfect game for me to play while watching TV or doing something else, because it is kind of mindless. I started a little King of the Hill rewatch because they announced that sequel series, and I've just been leveling up my mining class or my woodworking class in this game. Just running around this big open world map, doing things and leveling up these classes is so satisfying. And what really surprised me with this game is there's just a lot of content. I mean, you have, I want to say 10 different classes, maybe a little bit more than that. I'm not sure the exact number. I did finally just get them all unlocked. I unlocked the artist class right before recording this, so I got all the classes unlocked. I've, on the open world side of the map, I've gotten all the towers. I'm doing all the shrines now. Haven't messed too much with like the little island builder that this game does have. You can get into like this big giant robot from the freaking Wild Robot. It looks like Roz. You can excavate and build houses and stuff, which is a lot of fun. I haven't done too much of that just yet, because really my goal right now is to finish the story, level up my classes, and get to that like post-game online content. The way the game is structured, there's several chapters that you play through in the story mode. The story mode is fine. It kind of feels like a glorified tutorial. I'm not that invested in the plot or anything, so I'm kind of just getting through it to get to the post-game, to be honest. But you have all these different islands, and you're traveling between the past, present, and future, and basically you have sets of islands that are, story-focused with all these different shops and guild masters and stuff that you're going through and doing the story quests and side quests as well. But then you have this gigantic open world map, and you have all these towers around it, like in a Ubisoft game or Breath of the Wild or something. And that open world, oh man, you can just waste so much time running around, and it's so much fun because you can do this online with randoms. And what I've noticed is, if you want to level up your classes quickly, I loaded into a 4-player co-op on the open world, and I switched to my woodworking class, which was level 1 at the time, or, very low level, and the other people in the lobby were doing something else, and I leveled up like 20 times, and I was like, heck yeah, let's get those levels going. This game is not the most complex, But I like simple games like this where you have combat. It is basic combat, but you have combat with different classes. I've mostly been focusing on my magician, although there are, some basic like sword ones. There's an archer class that you can do, and the combat is enough to make it, enjoyable, entertaining, especially when you're playing with people online. But then there are also those like field classes, I think they call them, where you're, chopping down trees, or you're mining ore, or you're fishing. I haven't done too much fishing in this game yet. But then you also have the crafting classes where you're an artist and you're, sculpting stuff, or you can be a carpenter making materials for you to put inside your house. There's just so much variety here. Even if none of the specific gameplay elements are all that complex, it is so satisfying seeing all of these different classes level up and just kind of going to that next level. And it's just such a dopamine hit of like, okay, I want to get my woodworking to this level, and I want to level up my guild quest to this point so I can make this and then do this thing. And it's just a constant feedback loop of I'm doing something, I'm making progress, and it is really satisfying to play. So my goal over the next couple of days until Switch 2, so really only 3 days now, is to finish up the story and hopefully do as much post-game content as I can. I mean, I don't want to rush through it necessarily, but I'm going to play as much of this game as I can before Switch 2 comes out, because at that point I'll probably end up getting sidetracked. But yeah, this game is a lot of fun. If you have friends to play it with, or really even if you play it alone, I highly recommend it, because frankly, May might be the goated month. May might be the month where I played 3 games that are in my top 10 of the year. Doom: The Dark Ages, maybe. That'll probably be on the lower end, we'll see. As well as Clair, Obscur, and even Fantasy Life. I could see Fantasy Life being in that top 10 because I'm just having a lot of fun. It's simple, Like I said, I'm watching King of the Hill while playing it, but as someone who loves Final Fantasy XIV, Final Fantasy XIV is a lot. It's a big commitment, literally, especially because it has the $15 a month subscription. Fantasy Life is a cutesy-fied version of that, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm glad I decided to check it out. But that is going to do it for the games I played in the month of May, our longest games I played video yet, because I played so much this month and I had so much to say on Clair Obscur in particular. Let me know what you've been playing in the comments down below in May in preparation for Switch 2. I was trying to just knock out as much from the backlog as possible this month, which is why I replayed Onimusha. I made sure to finish Doom and Clair Obscur, and then Fantasy Life kind of snuck up on me as this surprise hit, and I was like, okay, I gotta try this out and squeeze it in before the end of the month. I did play a little bit of Ninja Gaiden Sigma. However, I don't know, I wasn't super feeling it, to be honest. I want to get through those games before Ninja Gaiden 4, but playing Ninja Gaiden Sigma on PS4, I don't know, I wasn't super clicking with it, so I'll get back to that eventually after Switch 2. But yeah, June's video is going to be really focused on Switch 2, I imagine. I don't think I'll even touch my PlayStation this month realistically, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Death Stranding 2 is coming out, although I haven't finished Death Stranding 1, so slacking on my backlog goals for 2025. That is going to do it, though. Let me know what you're playing in the comments down below. Of course, subscribe here for Nintendo and PlayStation collecting content, but also monthly wrap-up videos like this each and every month. You can follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames, my other Nintendo news channel at BoTalksGames as well, and click on one of these 2 videos to listen to me ramble about even more nonsense, video game nonsense. Until next time, folks, peace.